A deep breath. Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is another episode of Live, actually, not Live with Lynn, but you are Live with Lynn. LDtvTalk. We do this every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then we do the replay on LDtvTalk on Facebook. All through the week, you can see it. And it's archived there, as well as on YouTube. So my tagline is I've got a story to share. And I am really thrilled to share this story with you because in many ways, it's not only inspiring, it's very heartfelt, but it is personal because Lisa Keeler, who is sitting there, along with Jaime-il Roux, is a friend of mine who I met years ago when we worked together at Elle magazine. And Lisa's story is very profound, and I'm going to let her tell it, but I'll share a little bit about the fact that in 2014, personal tragedy struck and she was widowed. And this episode talks about the healing and the transformative powers of that she was able to heal from through her work with horses. So that led her to Jaime, and that partnership has led to Willow Warmblood USA, which is their company where they raise horses for sale, and they are going to tell you about it. So, Lisa, if you can take us through the beginning of that journey that started for you in 2014 and kind of lead us to how that personal experience led you to what you were doing, but also led you to Jaime. And then we can talk about Willow.
Hi, everyone. So basically, I think, the process of sort of finding yourself when something really tragic happens is different for everyone. And for me, I was in a state of complete disbelief. My husband collapsed and died in my arms, and I had two young children, and I started just searching, and it was a moment of clarity when I was running on the beach, and I started running I had been running, but I started running every single day to that was the only time that I could actually think, or even think at all. And I was running on the beach, and I sort of went back to my childhood, and one of my first memories was being on a horse in Hampstead Heath in London with my grandparents there, and there was just this overwhelming feeling of love. And I think that everything that I've done now that I've sort of psychoanalyzed myself through this journey, everything that I've done has been through this process of passion and love. I think they're both synonymous with each other. And I wanted to sort of get back to that feeling of love that I had lost. And even though I had children, it took my kids, they're so dependent on you, and I needed something that was just going to be giving me love and was sort of going to fill in that void. So I went to a barn and I started riding, and I quickly got a horse, and I just spent hours and hours, maybe 6 or 7 hours a day, and it became my therapy. And horses have this incredible energy that they sort of exude when you're around them. I mean, I always, I obviously I had an affinity to horses, but they have this energy that it's an indescribable feeling that you get when you're in the barn. Like you forget about everything. You forget about all your problems. You forget about, your life, anything that is worrying you, because it creates a moment in time. Every moment with your horse is a moment that you have to be in the now and you have to be present. So it's the most incredible escape. So for me, because I didn't want to gravitate towards anything. I didn't have the luxury of just like letting myself go, and I mean that's not the person I am anyway, but I didn't have the luxury of just sort of wallowing in complete misery and sadness. I had to push forward. I had two children I'm a single mom. I was a single mom then, and I had to push forward, and I had to make the best life that I possibly could for them. So I I had to be healthy and I had to move forward in a healthy way. And my horse basically saved me, like being with him basically. And I tried talk therapy, and for everyone it's different, but for me that sort of that passion and that love was what really saved me. And then it morphed and it changed and evolved. And the the more time I spent with my horse, the more money I lost because I went into my savings, and I became like, I was like, how am I going to make, and I always been in nonprofits. Except for I got into nonprofits before for my passion to make a difference. I always wanted to make a difference in my life to, help people. So I felt that this was my calling, but I didn't understand like how I could possibly make it work, because I wasn't a good rider. I wasn't nearly good enough to be showing. I'm not good with training. I didn't know enough. And I didn't know how I was going to make it work, but I knew that if I follow love and I follow this sort of energy that was the way it was taking me, that something would happen. And then I met Jamie. She was at the barn, and she had the most gorgeous horse that she had just rescued, who is now my horse, who is now my private horse. And we well, you weren't. We bonded, but you weren't. Yeah. You weren't very nice at first. She was a little standoffish at first, and she's very British. She's British.
The barn was also my getaway as well, so I'm not the most sociable person. I just want to spend time with my horses and ride, and then go back to work again. But I was nice in the end.
You were. It worked out.
Obviously, it did. So when you met Jamie, she was at the barn because she was a regular rider there, or Jamie, did you train at that time, or what was happening? And then I'm going to go back because I love your story about how you got into riding in the first place. But tell us first how you met Lisa at the barn. What were you doing at that point in time that your energies kind of connected? She was in one place, obviously. You were in another. And it sounds like it wasn't an instantaneous hit.
So I've been riding since I was 4. But after I'd finished college, I studied equestrian in college as well. Once I completed college, I went into the yachting industry for a couple of years, and I worked on the boat. So when I was down here in Florida, it was actually a yard period time when we were just doing maintenance on the boat that I was working on. And I just wanted to get back into riding. So I actually hadn't ridden properly in 5 years, apart from the odd, bareback Mexican ride on the beach somewhere random.
Sounds nice.
I'm not going to complain there. But I wanted to get back into riding. My partner at the time bought me a horse. It was actually more of like a rescue. And I retrained him. His name is Deacon. And I went to the barn every day. It was kind of like a nice little getaway, get back into something I was very passionate about, something I used to be somewhat good at. And it was just so nice to get away from the life of, you know, working on a boat and politics and stuff like that. So it was amazing to get back into riding and to be back at the barn again. And I was always very to myself as well. I mean, my job previously was so sociable, and then to have time with an animal again was just amazing when you're at sea all the time. So yeah, I met Lisa the one day. She came past while I was riding. She was like, "Oh, I'd love if you could give me a lesson sometime." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Busy riding, I'm busy, you know, concentrating on the training and stuff. And then about a week went by, and she approached me again. She's like, "Please, I would really love a lesson." So we went into training. So we started training together. And then next thing I knew, I was leaving, and I had to leave again. And she ended up buying the horse I was training, and she fell in love with him and still has him today.
And everyone said, they were like, "This horse is way too challenging for you. He's a thoroughbred. He's off the track. He's a racehorse. He was a racehorse." And at first you said, "Oh no, I think he's too much for you." Yeah. Like, but
you guys got on so well in the end. They bonded so well.
We did, and I persevered. I persevered. I started just walking for a month. I was too scared to trot him, and you know, we sort of, and it's really parallel to business in the sense that you start something, and you know, with our work, we started our business, and you think it's going to go one way, and you sort of have to evolve, and you have to change, and you have to
persevere.
And you have to really, really persevere to make it work.
Yeah. I definitely know that. Well, one of the things that I find fascinating, because I'm not a rider, I've been on a horse maybe 3 times in my life. But how big a role does the horse and the relationship and the mind meld between the rider and the horse? How much did it have to do with your kind of knowing that you wanted to move forward doing something that was more than riding?
Well, it was really out of necessity for me. I had to figure out, first of all, the being an equestrian or in the equine like industry is hugely expensive. So when you're talking about thousands of dollars a week that you have to come up with, especially if you're competing, you have to figure it out, and you have to figure out how you're going to make money. So I think that when you know, it's sort of your ride or die. I think when you have that feeling inside of you, and it goes with everything in life. I mean, it goes with, you know, not just your love for your business, but if you're really authentic and honest with, you know, the friendships that you have, if you're authentic and honest in, you know, the love that you the partner that you choose to be with, if you have that authenticity and you're really true to yourself, then and it isn't marred with anything that is superficial or materialistic or not real, not based on love, then I think that you figure out a way to do it, you know, and with being with horses and around horses, and just learning as much as I possibly could about the industry, and knowing that I had to make money from it. So in any case, when Jamie and then I started talking to Jamie about horses, and we started talking about like acquiring, and Jamie's really good at, she's got the most incredible eyes. So she would find rescues and that were in South Florida. And she said, "Oh, look at this gorgeous paint," or this, you know, different. We started embarking on getting rescues and bringing them and retraining and bringing them in and rehabbing them and
finding the most incredible homes.
And then finding them in the most incredible homes. So, which was hugely gratifying. And we would make, and from that, I basically bought Deacon from her. So we made a little bit of money from it because we were basically rescuing these horses. And so from that, we started talking about, gosh, if we could go to Europe and we could, because we both love traveling, and I spent, pretty much my 10 years, like from 20 to 32 or whatever, traveling around the world. And so did Jamie. And I think that we were like, okay, how can we travel? How can we embrace our passion for horses and find like the most talented horses? And we wanted warm bloods because they're show jumpers, because show jumping, obviously we're both the most, our affinity is towards show jumpers, and bring them back and see how it goes. So, but Jamie will tell you more about like.
Yeah, so there's
Well,
definitely.
I have a million questions now that you're telling me this, but I want our viewers to know, because I love this, before we go forward, Jamie's first experience on a horse, because I read that and I thought, that right.
Well,
How
a lot
could
of
you
riders
have back on a horse?
Well, a lot of riders will probably relate to this somehow, because it's something that we all, especially when we're younger, have to go through at some point. So I started riding when I was 4, and about 6 to 8 months later, I was training on this little pony. He's probably about 13 2 hands. He was this grey. He was extremely naughty, but I loved it. I was confident. I was happy. I'm like, put me on anything, put me on bareback. Anyway, so I was supposed to go to my first ever competition that following weekend, and we're training, and I'm going over this little cross pole, and I fell off the horse, except that my foot got stuck in the stirrup, and I got dragged around by this pony for about 20 to 25 minutes. I got scratched, bruised, bumped, crying my eyes out when they finally got the pony in their hands, and my dad turned around and he said, "Jamie, get back on the horse." And I did. And I, crying and screaming and in pain, I did it. And I honestly think that to this day, if I hadn't got back on that horse, I would not be where I am today at all.
So to the fact that you love riding, you learned a lot of life lessons, I'm sure, from that particular experience.
Yep. All the time. And you fall off a lot when you're riding. It's just part of training, especially when you go down the competition side as well. I mean, even training in general. I mean, I've fallen off probably 3 times in the past few months.
I think every
it's just
day.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, every day you learn something.
Yeah.
So every day, a horse, every day you learn something about yourself. Like, can I push myself a little bit harder? Because when it's the one sport that it's not just about your ability and how well your body is working and functioning, and your mental state. It's really, it's also about the horse. So the horse is the athlete too. So you're both have to be in sync with each other. You both have to, and horses have bad days too. So just as we might wake up and feel fatigued and not want to do anything, and it's that mental and physical connection that you have to, every day you come and you get to the barn, and it's a different day, and the horse is in a different mood. Like, sometimes he's feeling, happy. Sometimes he's got a stomach ache, sometimes his hoof is he might have an abscess that's forming, you never know what's going on. So the horse is always different too. It's not like, a tennis racket where you're picking up the tennis racket, and the tennis racket is always going to be the same tennis racket, but a horse is always going to be different. So that unpredictability too really challenges you as a person to push yourself. It's and you're constantly in this state of evolving, and that evolution helps you sort of really dig deep, and you really have to, analyze yourself, and you do a lot of self-analysis, and you don't even realize that you do it. But every day, there's something new that I learn. I mean, I'm sure
all the time.
Yeah, you're constantly just learning things.
Every horse is something different to teach you. So
yeah.
So you two are together, you're in Florida, you've got Deacon, you have this passion for travel. You decide, let's kind of get our passions and our experience, your personal experience with riding, Lisa, and Jamie, your experience with rescue and everything. How long did the conversation period last before you decided to take the first step? And what was that first step about moving forward and making it a serious endeavor that you could do together?
Well, it probably took about a year, because, I mean, one of the biggest things when you're going to go into a business with someone is making sure you're going to go for the right market, especially in this industry. It's a very, very big industry. And you have to make sure that whatever you're going to bring in, that it's going to sell. Right. So our biggest thing over that 1 year period was marketing and finding out exactly what the American market needs, how we're going to acquire it, where we're going to find it, planning, business strategies. It took us a solid year to really put it together. The farms, the trainers,
like where in Europe we were going to go first, how we were going to do it. I mean, there was so much involved as far as like the due diligence that we needed to do in order to take the first step.
Our biggest thing as well is there are so many companies, especially in Europe, that have these amazing horses that you can find, but there are also the smaller businesses as well, where just, for example, like us, where they have these incredible horses that they breed, but they're more on the private side, and they may never have imported before. May never have gone international before, and we're also giving them the opportunity to do that with their horses. And they're not bred any different. They're just as exceptional. They just don't have the big name. Right. So working along with people like that is also giving other people the opportunity as well. It's taking on those other farms and getting our horses from smaller people as well that breed more privately, that breed just as amazing horses that we can bring over and give to the American market.
Right.
When you're doing that, it sounds like there's much more of a commitment that you need to the training aspect.
Oh,
so how does that work versus something that, say you went into a situation, I know Brussels is a place where you've gone to look at horses before. And I know, Lisa, I think you said Germany was another place that that is a locale for a horse that you're looking at. But if you see something that an animal that you feel you want to work with and it hasn't been trained, then what is that different experience versus a horse that has already been jumping or that you know more about, other than the fact that obviously the one with experience is going to cost more? What else is involved?
So that's where it comes down to the market, the specific market that we're going for. So our horses, we basically have a checklist. And our horses pretty much it's very detailed. So we're not going to bring over a horse that isn't trained to a specific discipline or standard. So there are certain things that we're looking for. So some of the examples would be a conformation, good breeding, ability, ground manners, trailering. I mean, this is a competition horse. It's going to be competing with an American rider, maybe up to a Grand Prix level, and we have to make sure that the horse is going to be capable of doing that. So there are a lot of factors to take in when we're looking for a horse. And I mean, for example, one of the reasons why we go there and we try our horses personally and we check all these things, like putting them in a trailer, getting them 5-stage vet check, getting every single part of their body x-rayed, is because a lot of the American market,
they buy online.
They buy online. So you'll see videos online of this amazing horse and it's going around and looks amazing. Here's some x-rays. And what we found through a lot of research is that the horses aren't what they expect. So the horses will arrive, they're lame, the x-rays were fake, the horse actually has a really bad bucking problem, the horse is a biter, he doesn't like going in the stall, he can't go in a field, they're not good with other horses. So these are all huge factors that we take into consideration when we go and we find out horses, and it's part of ticking our boxes and making sure these horses that are coming over are going to satisfy an American market.
We went, and when we went over, we had not only, you know, farms that were very prestigious, but not that well known. So the American market wouldn't have necessarily known about it. But then there were people that were well known, and we saw these horses and these profiles that we were like, we're definitely getting this horse. This horse is definitely the one that we're going to get. And when we went there, we didn't buy, okay, so we saw 70 to 100 horses and rode, and we went, I drove like 300 miles a day. We went all over the entire state. And basically, none of the horses that were profiled that people actually buy online were even, they didn't check off any of our boxes. I mean, it was beyond belief. We couldn't believe it. We saw these horses and we're like, how did they even get that photograph? Or like, how did they get that video? We couldn't figure it out. So
there's a lot of false advertising when it comes to selling horses, and that's one of our big things, and that's what we are providing with Willow is we try the horses, we make sure they tick all the boxes, and what we advertise them as is what they are, if not better. So that's what we're building our reputation on, is honesty. So what we say our horses are is what they are. And as far as training goes, I mean, every horse, our horses, like our one horse we have, Vinny, at the moment, he is absolutely exceptional. He ticks every box. He is the sweetest, kindest horse with the most amazing ability, and he will be a Grand Prix horse in 2 years. But the thing with him is, he's in competition now, and he's competing now. But the thing with him is, we can't just bring him over and then just let him idle. So we have to keep maintaining his training, and that's one of the things that we do. Is we keep him going, we keep maintaining him, we put him into shows, we show him off, we have people come and try him. We have the most exceptional team. We have the most amazing barn that has the best facilities to cater. It's quiet, it's tranquil, it's right by the Wellington Equestrian Federation, by the WEF Showgrounds. And then we have the perfect competition rider. We've got an amateur rider, she's 18. She went and did her first ever 125 class on a 6-year-old that has never been into a 125 class before. So we're also offering opportunities to people, and again, we're being very honest. You know, we're selling what we say it is.
And not only that, the love that goes into it. I mean, we groom for hours a day. We spend every single day, the two of us, Jamie even more, but because I have kids too, just spending hours and hours and hours a day with grooming and maintenance and care and the proper feed and adjusting the
massage
feed
therapy.
And massage therapy. I mean, I wish I was my horse.
Our horses are kept in show condition at all times.
Sounds good to me.
Europe, they're in first class flights. They arrive, they're in first class accommodations, first class transport.
The most beautiful barn.
The most beautiful barn. So.
Their stalls have the way that they were they had therapy mats. And so when they go into their stalls, aside from the shavings being like banked and perfect, they have, it's bouncy so that it doesn't hurt their tendons. So that there is no sort of like, there isn't any sort of, it's like having an incredible bed to sleep on. So everything has been, we've thought about every single aspect. But I mean, in saying that, the adjustment, we've had to adjust so many different aspects of our business, our original business model, and how we were going to approach it, and understanding the industry. And we thought we understood the industry, and it's actually
in every country.
It's so completely different. You know, in every industry is very, very different. And so that sort of growth is been very painful at times, but it's been so rewarding. Like the overall, because we love being with horses so much and we believe in what we're doing, it's definitely much easier than if I mean, I couldn't even imagine, like, if you're in a situation where you hate what you're doing and you're miserable, but you have to, and it's not working out, and you sort of have to move forward and you have to trudge on. That would be really painful.
Yes. We're very lucky. We're meeting the right people as we're going along, and it is a slow process of learning. But we feel like every day is a step in the right direction
Right.
for us. And I mean, for the equestrian industry, it's all about who you know. So it's all about the reputation of the trainer that has the clients that might be able to buy your horse, or having the right riders on your horse, having your horse boarded at the correct barn that has a good reputation, that's known for looking after the horses very well. It all kind of comes together in one big thing that we've learned the hard way and in a very slow way. But we really feel like we've just got the most amazing team around us now. And after everything we've been through to get to this stage, we really feel like we're going to do well.
We're moving forward.
So what you're telling me is such an incredible, it sounds to me, and I don't know the equestrian market and I don't know the competition, but when you first started to move forward with this idea, how were you able to garner the research that you were able to do? Because did you sit down with people who were in the industry, and then did they download you on, all these things you needed to do to have this business? Or has
I love research, so
you did research? Because it's incredible, and it sounds like the fact that you are in an industry where a lot of people have not done the research, and they rely on marketing to sell what is a huge ticket item. And it sounds like, what happens if somebody falls prey to this false advertising? Do they bring the horse back?
No, that's the thing. So what happened? So you say you purchase a horse for $60,000, and then his trip after vetting, it could be $65,000. Then his trip will be $10,000 if you do it properly, $10,000 to $12,000, and basically you spent an absolute fortune. By the time he arrives to you, you can't send him back. I mean,
once you purchase the horse, it's pretty much yours.
it.
Unless, I mean, a lot of people that are buying those horses that way as well. I mean,
it's not like buying a car.
It's not like buying a car. You're not going to get exactly what you would expect every time, unless you've been there and you've physically ridden the horse. Or I mean, some horses look a specific way, but they ride completely different to what they ride. So it's the truth of it is you're pretty much stuck with it. If that's a decision you made and you've already bought that horse, that's just the way it is, which again is why we're doing what we're doing. Is we're getting those amazing horses, we're finding the horse that ticks every box, and we're bringing them to you, and we're offering you exactly what you want.
Right. And
so
what the rider needs.
And it depends. I mean, every level is different. So many people want something very specific, and again, that's what we're offering as well. We go to Europe every few months, and if someone wants a specific horse that they're looking for, we'll go there and try them out for them. So we're already going there for ourselves, but if people want a specific horse, we can find that for you. So that's another thing that we obviously also going to do, is actually incorporate what other people want, and actually go and try horses out for people personally as well. Vet them.
So Jamie has all the contacts because she
has a stud farm.
But she has a stud farm in South Africa, and because she was based mainly in Europe, and you got all your qualifications in England. She knows where to go. So she knows all these farms, these trainers, the best of the best. And that's the problem with when you're buying a horse, and especially in this industry, people want to have horses that are warm bloods, especially for show jumping or in the hunter world,
or sport horses
in general, that are trained in Europe. So if it's a Dutch warmblood, that it's been trained, it's got a show record in Holland or in Belgium, and they want to have that. So what they do is they see those credentials online, and there are some, there's so many different sort of horse sales companies.
There's a lot of the big names that are out there, but again, that's where we're going.
But it's a hit or miss. It's always a hit or miss. And we sort of identified that we were going to do the work so that we would make sure that the horse that someone wants, if they're going to spend that kind of money, they need to get exactly what they need and exactly what their qualifications are. And they can't just be, getting it online. I mean, they can, because that's historically that's what people have been doing, but it's so hit or miss, and we wanted to eliminate that. So we're sort of like, we found a niche market.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, also sitting here and listening to you, and I don't mean to make this sound sexist, but it seems to me that you have a very feminine approach to how you deal with horses. It's very nurturing. It has a lot of feminine energy. There's a level of concern that I don't want to say your male counterparts may not be capable of, but that comes more natural for a woman. Would you say that that's accurate? Are there a lot of women?
Nose kisser.
Yeah, so we call the people that just want to kiss the noses all day, the nose kissers.
That's me.
And then we get the mean ones that have to train the horse every day. Yeah, I mean, there's actually, I mean, there are a lot of women in the industry. I think that, well, where I'm from in the UK, I studied in the UK a lot. Where I'm from there, the majority of the riders are all women. But when we come to America, it's actually, especially the big riders, the Grand Prix riders, FEI riders, a lot of them are the male riders too. And they are exceptional. And, there's a market for both, I think. And male riders ride a little bit different. Well, for example, Lisa would prefer horses a bit more calm, a little bit more easy to maintain, something that's easy to look after, ground manners, a little bit more push and go. Whereas, for example, my kind of ride is give me something cheeky, give me something that's going to get me off, it's going to get me over the fence. So there's something a little bit more fun and exhilarating. So there's definitely and I find that a lot of the male riders as well kind of like that kind of ride too, something a bit more forward, that's going to run you to the fence. But yeah, there's a little bit. I mean, we are a bit feminist, I guess. With nose kisses.
Yeah. Not only as riders, but as owners. Are you in very male dominant industry in terms of ownership? Or is it pretty, because to me, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking your energy is that whole kind of nurturing, detailed, has to be, this connection sounds a very strong feminine energy. So I thought as a company, your company sounded like it was taking a much more feminine approach than these people who would just put photos online and market that way. So it was from an ownership standpoint, in addition to, a riding standpoint.
Yeah. So our horses, I mean, they mean a lot to us, and we like to get to know the character of our horses, because that's what we have to sell. And we want to make sure that, I mean, we don't just sell our horses to anyone. We want to make sure that our horses get sold to people that suit them and people that are going to look after them and appreciate them. For example, our horse Vinny at the moment, he is a baby. He's turning 6 years old, and he is he's so sweet. He sticks his tongue out. He wants to give you cuddles. He wants to lean on your shoulder and give you kisses, and just wants constant attention all the time. But then you get other horses like her horse Deacon that wants to bite, and he hates being touched. He hates being given kisses or any sort of attention apart from you. But he bites. So I mean, we definitely like to get to know our horses. We like to we like to get to know our horses. We like to make sure that what we're selling is gonna fit with the rider too. We don't just like selling the horses off to anyone just because we're gonna make money out of it. So
there's definitely a sense of nurturing and that feminine energy that may be different from making it purely just a business, but it is also a business. So
right,
I think that you have to have that. You with any endeavor that you go, any journey that you go on, I think that if you have to have that passion, and you have to have that appreciation and that respect and that integrity and that love in order to do anything properly. But you also, especially with when you're dealing with animals, I mean, he's not just our horses are not just commodities. You know, they are breathing beings. So I think that you have to have that sensibility too. Is really, really important to us, and that's part of integrity and the integrity of the business. The very successful sales companies that are importing or exporting horses to the States and to Europe and other places that are very successful, they have a very special model that they are using, and they do treat the animals, and they don't get to know them because they are exporting a huge, on a huge level, so, but their model, is one of, let's just move the horse, and they don't get to know the horse. So the horses are a commodity in that sense, and that just goes against our belief system. I mean, I think that as if you're gonna sleep, for me to sleep at night, I have to be doing things that I really believe in, and that I'm like I want to be the best person that I could possibly be, and I want to be a really good person, and I want to make a really positive impact on society, and on a person's life, and on an animal's life especially. I mean, I love animals, so I can't even imagine not having that component in every aspect of what we're doing. And I think it's really that has, propelled us forward, during the hardest times, during times that we don't understand how things have gone the way that they've gone, and we had to shift our whole sort of strategy to make things work. But I think that it's really that principle, that passion for being, doing the right thing.
I think that kind of also sets us aside as something a little bit different too, is the fact that we just care so much about what we're doing, and we have so much passion behind what we're actually offering people. I think it just makes us stand out just that little bit more, that we really care so much, and that we really put in the effort to not only finding the most incredible horses that have so much potential, but to also put in so much effort and our own love and passion into them to make them, and to continue making them as special as we know they are.
Yeah.
Well, I know that every person who decides to take the entrepreneurial journey hits the bumps along the way. And one of the challenges is when you take the bump and you have to move through it, how does that change your commitment or the aspect that you're going to follow through on the ethics that you and the principles of how the business was founded? How have you been able to sustain the bumps and still keep that clear vision in terms of how
it's not been easy.
Arguing a lot.
Yeah, we have our moments.
Screaming at each other.
No, it definitely takes its toll. I mean, as far as like commitment goes, it definitely makes you question it. There are, I mean, you're starting a business, and you don't know if it's going to work or not. You're going in somewhat blind in a way, especially with us. I mean, we don't know the industry here in this country as much as what I might know in South Africa with a stud farmer, and in Europe competing in Wales. But it definitely makes you question it. But I think that having the right partners, having the right team of people around you, like your barn owner, the trainers, the riders, it all comes together, and it makes it helps you persevere. And I think we sit down sometimes, we just have to go through things and then come up with the next plan, and kind of sometimes we need a couple of days to kind of come up with things and decide what the next step is, because every step in this industry is so important, and it really makes a huge difference.
I think definitely, I've seen through this process that stepping away and stepping back from the situation and not, I mean, we literally talk about the business, and we're living together too. So we live together, we talk about the business constantly. So I think that
it can be a bit overwhelming.
It's all encompassing. So I think that the ability to step back and actually take a breather and do something completely different, for me, it's been my solace and my way of sort of coping with it, and then coming together again and talking about, like this morning, for example, we're having breakfast. I just came back from a run, and I'm like, I want to get upstairs and I want to get ready, and we're eating something, and then we started talking about competition, and we started talking about how, these certain trainers, what would happen, in the future with Vinny, once he's sold, and,
what kind of horses we were being thrown next.
What kind of horses we're going to be looking for. And long story short, we came to the conclusion that I was like, God, we want to have this trainer, a very specific trainer who's very famous, ride our next horse and compete at WEF for our next competition, for the next WEF season. And we'll get to know him, and we thought that was the way to go, and it sort of shifted our whole perspective
which changes our whole market strategy, our whole business strategy. Like we're always coming up with new ideas
of how to promote,
and it changes all the time. All the time we're like, oh, but there's a market for this too, we could definitely find that, and there's a market for this, and what if we did this? Right. And we're always talking about different strategies, different marketing techniques, different ways we can do things, bouncing ideas. There's this trainer, this stud farm in this country has got these horses available at the moment. Like, these are the kind of horses that we could potentially bring over. We're always kind of expanding a lot. So I think, like, bottom line, if we can, like give any sort of like, not advice, but like any sort of insight, I think that to not just stick to one concept or one mission plan or one strategy, to be open-minded and open to actually discussing different ways and thinking outside the box. Like, how are we going to do this, and how are we going to resolve this conflict or this situation? I think that so often, especially when you're working like in corporate America, you're working for a big company, they have a strategy in place, and their business is set up in a certain way, and you don't have the flexibility, or you don't even have the autonomy to even think about, sort of doing things more efficiently, or doing things in a better way, or, coming up with a strategy that would actually make sense, or would be more, better for your target audience. So because we have the luxury of, it's just the two of us sort of then managing other people and having our team sort of develop, we have this ability to sort of change things and talk about things, and does this make sense? And there's so often there's ideas that don't make any sense, and we talk through them, and they seem like a really, really good idea, and a good way of doing things, and they're not. And
right,
it's trial and error in a lot of ways.
It is. So right now you've got Vinny.
Yeah. We sold Bentley. So we sold Bentley 2 months ago, who was our other horse that we brought over. He was beautiful. My dog's barking in the back.
Yeah, we had a black 16 3-hand 4-year-old that we brought over as well. See, that's where we kind of varied a little bit. We brought Vinny over, who ticked all our boxes, and then we brought Bentley over, which we were going to keep and train, and then kind of build him into a show jumper. Exceptional jump, beautiful big canter, ticks all the other boxes. He's just a bit green. But he ended up selling because someone fell in love with him. So
and he was amazing.
and he was just an absolute sweetheart. I mean, that happens, you know. And he was a horse we were planning on keeping for a while and training and building up, you know, our name a little bit there in the competition ring. And turns out we did the opposite with both horses. So so now keeping Vinny, and he is for sale. But yeah.
So how many horses do you foresee having at once?
You know what, we still want to keep things more on the private side. We don't want to be a big company that has bulk horses. We want to specifically have maybe maximum 5 to 6 horses, because we want to be very involved in their every day to day, you know, as far as training, spending time with them, keeping them in show condition, which we want to do personally. We don't pay other people to groom our horses and oil their feet and give them 2-hour-long baths with a lovely massage after, you know, like we want to do that ourselves, because it's part of what we're selling is getting to know our horses and spending time with them and seeing the small cuts that they might have got in the field and tending to them, you know.
We want to make sure that we're delivering the best,
yeah.
the best of the best.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, that's so important to us.
And it's really hard to find the right kind of horses too. I mean, we can't just go to Europe and just bring back 5 exceptional horses that we're looking for.
Right.
In the weeks that we were looking for the specific horse Vinny, which we found, we had to ride 80 horses, and that was already cut down from hundreds that I had planned to see. And it's hard to find what you want, which is again why we do what we do, and we travel and we try all the horses out, because they just weren't what we were expecting. And Vinny was the one and only horse that really ticked our boxes, and he is beyond exceptional.
Yeah.
And we're so happy to have him and have him represent Willow in the competition ring.
Yeah. So he's your standard. He's your advertising. He
is the kind of horse we want a million times over.
Yeah. And that's and we're not going to compromise. I mean, that's exactly what we're going to be looking for. You know, we want to get the best of the best.
Yeah.
So say somebody sees the episode, or the couple people that I know who I think you know, could ever be in the market for a horse. If they wanted to take the first step, is it to have a private conversation with you? Is it to calm down and spend time with the horse? How does it work? Or does it vary?
We definitely want to get to know those riders. So if someone would like us to, or they want to even accompany us on a trip going to Europe and meet our people and our contacts and stuff and ride themselves their own horses, or even have our riders do it, we definitely want to get to know them. So definitely seeing them ride, probably have them come do like a trial ride on one of our horses. Get to know their riding ability, get to know their personality, what they're looking for in their horses, because again, that's their boxes that we need to tick. You know, if they don't mind if the horse has a big personality and it, you know, throws in a buck now and then, and they don't mind that, or maybe they want something a bit more on the calmer side because they're new to riding. You know, a lot of people, it's really hard to get a lot of information out of riders, and definitely meeting with someone one-on-one, or even having like a Skype call or something and getting see some videos of them riding, that's what's going to determine the kind of horse that we're going to get them, along with what they're specifically asking for.
And with the horses that we bring over, obviously, like if you're spending a lot of money on anything in life, you calm down, you see what you're going to be buying. And with a horse, because there's so many different aspects of buying a horse. I mean, you want to get to know the horse before you actually buy him or her.
And you also want to trust us as well. I mean, half of like meeting up with place is a trust thing. You know, you're going to be spending so much money on these people going to Europe and finding your dream horse for you. You want to know that they're going to, one, they're on the same page as you, and 2, that they're going to find you, that you trust them to find you what you're looking for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So if someone says, you know what, I don't know that I want a horse that is in competition, but I'd love, you know, kind of an amazing horse for my child, or I want an amazing horse for myself. Can you find an animal like that?
We can find
requirements. Just tell us what you want and we'll find it for you. Right. No problem. We literally travel Europe, and I love research. I'm pretty OCD when it comes to that kind of stuff. We put a lot of effort into doing a lot of research in a way. So we'll make sure that we've narrowed down basic horses. We've sent you videos and photos before we've even gone there. And then we go there, let's say another horse pops up, great, we'll ride it, but we'll go and try the horses that you want us to try too. So there's a lot of communication going on. We're not just going to go there and just go, oh, this is the right horse for you, here you go. There are going to be loads of options. It's going to have to tick your box. You're going to have to approve it. You know, there's vetting, we go through all the right steps to make sure that you as a customer are very happy and that you're getting exactly what you're looking for. And a lot of times it changes. I mean, you might say, right, I want a bay, it's 16.2 and it must be easy to ride, and that's it. That's the only, requirements you have. But now we've come across this beautiful black horse who just happened to be in the barn, it's just arrived, here's a video of us riding it, and they might go, I love it, I want it. Because people, it changes a lot. So we want to give people the opportunity to have different colors, different heights, tall rider, short rider, all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we cater to pretty much everything that they're asking for, and we will find it.
That's true.
All right. I know you will. So obviously you guys have done the due diligence. You've lived this. You've done a great job in working together to make this work and are committed to having this be a full-time job for the rest of your lives. I'm assuming that this, you want to be involved in this. And this is a life career for you, which is great. So now we're going to get to the lightning round, to kind of talk about a few things that have been inspirations for you. So I'll start with you, Lisa. A person that inspired or inspires you, or why, and why?
So when I was thinking about this question, I mean, there's so many different people that have come into my life that through traveling, through school, through work. But when it really comes down to it, I think that my mom was the person that really inspired me the most. She suffered so much in her life, and because of that, she battled cancer for 18 years. And in looking back on it, all these struggles that she went through, and the reason that she did everything, you don't at the time often realize why people say things or do things, and it's often much later that you look back on it when you have children yourself, or when you've gone through something that's been really challenging and difficult. And I've sort of reflected back so many times, especially in this journey, to my mom. And she was going through really like terrible chemo, and she got her PhD for brain injury, to become a neurologist. And she worked at the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, helping children with brain injury. And she was so sick, and I don't even know how she did the things that she did, but she's sort of the milestone. Like, I look back on things, and she's given me so much inspiration to always move forward, and to think that if there's nothing that is too hard to do. And so, and she always gave me like all these different pearls of wisdom. I mean, she always said to me, that a smart person knows when to cut their losses. And that was like one thing that she always said. And she, always have people around you that can stimulate you and make you a better person. And people that are better than you, always surround yourself with people like that. So I think that this journey, I've really reflected back on her as a person that's like changed me.
It sounds like you could go through anything right after that. How about you, Jamie?
So I don't really have a specific person that's inspired me. I would actually say that I'm so ridiculously lucky to have the family that I have, because they all have. I grew up till the age of 7. My parents were selling peppers off the back of a truck. We didn't have much money. And if it wasn't for them, my granddad, my dad, my mom, even my brother supporting me and getting me lessons and working for people just to get me to ride on a horse for free, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I feel like my entire family has inspired me to be exactly where I am today.
That's so sweet.
That's great. How about the best business advice you've ever received, since now you're full-fledged entrepreneurs? Lisa?
So I did, when P. Diddy was he was training for his marathon, for the New York City Marathon. There was this huge sort of launch party for it. And I was with him, we were going through like all the different logistics of the evening, and, you know, sort of going through everything with him. And I don't know what, like, we were just talking, and I said to him, I was like, what, you know, how did you become as successful as you are? And he said to me, always surround yourself with people that are better than you. And I think that I really took that to heart. So with everything, I mean, that we've done moving forward, like when I was looking at starting the business, I chose Jamie because she has the most incredible eye, and she can look at, you know, there's some people that just, you know, they have an affinity, whether it's for fashion or for whatever it is, they have this eye for picking the best of the best. And she was my starting point. So when I thought I want to go to Europe, and I want to, you know, get horses, and she was like the person, because I knew that she had this incredible ability to pick the most incredible horses. So that was my
Great. Jamie?
So my mom, she's actually an entrepreneur herself. She started a surf shop in the Caribbean. Actually, my parents move around a lot. I started a stud farm a couple years ago, and she has always kind of been my backbone to rely on a lot. So when it came to invoices or talking to people, she would always be there for me, and she's always kind of guided me and helped me gain confidence, I guess. Yeah, I think she'd definitely be the person that taught me a lot when it comes to business. I really relied on her a lot.
How about personal advice? Lisa?
Personal advice. I think that if you, like what I said from the beginning, I think if you approach an idea and you have such a deep passion for it, and a deep, you don't even have to have a deep understanding. I mean, there's so much that I've learned in the you know, the past year and a half. I mean, it's immeasurable, but I think if you just have the desire to do something, and you're passionate about it, and you don't think that you could live without it, then that's something you need to pursue. You know, don't waste your time doing, I mean, obviously you have to make a living, and obviously there are things that you have to do that you don't want to do, and you know, every day. But if you can find a passion, and you can think outside the box of how to make money through it, you know, just try it. And being an entrepreneur, or being entrepreneurial, isn't for everyone, because you have to have it's super, super stressful, but the reward of doing something that you love, and being inspired, is invaluable.
Agreed. Jamie, what would you say to that?
I totally agree. But I definitely think that, you know, starting a business is extremely difficult. It really tests you as a person. And I think that the best bit of advice I can give, that we've been through, is don't doubt yourself, keep going, and surround yourself with people who are going to support you and help you move forward.
Great. So I usually ask, because a lot of people that, you know, come on have a very tech-oriented business, or they do a lot online, and you guys have such a personal business. I don't even know if an app would even be appropriate. Do you even use tech tools in your business? And if so, what would be an app that would be invaluable to you guys?
Oh, I wouldn't, you know, there's not many equestrian apps out there. There's maybe a couple that you can keep up-to-date records of like your horse's shoeing and their general day-to-day rotas and stuff like that. But as far as apps go in general, I mean, social media is a huge thing for us. Always advertising, you know, what our horses are doing, what we're doing, our horses getting massage therapy, here you go. Time puppies are kissing our horses. I think that Instagram and Facebook are definitely two apps that we rely on a lot to get ourselves out there and to show people what we're not only doing with our horses, but what we're kind of selling as well.
Yeah.
Actually, that's Facebook and seeing Lisa's son, you know, riding. I remember that, you know, that was, you know, such an empowered visual. So I'm sure it works very, very well for you guys.
Yes.
So how about a charity that people may not be aware of that is doing great things?
So there's a charity called Horses Healing Hearts, and it is based in West Palm, and it's horse therapy. So I think that they're doing an amazing job, and I think they've been in business maybe for 15 years, 10, 15 years. So I would suggest people look, and any, you know, obviously, like there's any sort of horse therapy, nonprofits or charities that they're everywhere. So all over the country, it doesn't matter where you are, to look into, I guess you would just type in, like you do a Google search for horse therapy, equine therapy, and you'll find something, because they pretty much, you know, nearly all of them are the same as far as like what the outcomes, the children that they help, and the adults that they help with, you know, doing exercises with the horse, different sort of methods of like just just basic like grooming, just going into a barn. A lot of people haven't even set foot in a barn. So it sort of takes people out of their current situations that are often really dire, and putting them into a, you know, a barn setting where they're relating to an animal rather than having to relate to other people, and they're working through conflict and, you know, abuse and things that they're you know, that they've been sort of struggling with, and challenges in their everyday life, and they work through it just through the connection that they're building with the horses.
Well, what we do after the show, you'll send me the link to the charity in West Palm, and then I'll put it on LDTV Scoop, which is the Facebook community that really kind of, we do the replays on there a lot, but we also always put the things that you talked about and referred to. So we'll have links. We'll have link to your site, and then if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they'll have an opportunity to do that. So that's what we'll do. So thank you both for being here. It's so great. I think what you're doing is it's born out of passion, but it is a very thoughtful business dealing with animals. It sounds like you put the personal care that's so important when you deal with some. the animal becomes part of the family. And I think that, you know,
We
it's
cry.
really,
We cry every time we sell a horse.
I know, but
You know?
and I think that, you know, to have that care and that those personal feelings go a long way. So thank you both.
Thank you.
I'm going to sign you off now. This was great. You'll send me those links,
I will.
and then we'll keep tabs. You'll send me pictures of Vinny and the other horses that you got, and we'll always post them on LDTV Talk. So anyway, thank you both.
Thank you
Have
so
a-
much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, it's great. All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Well, that was wonderful. So last week we had rescue dogs. Today we have warm bloods. So I am nurturing the animal lover side of me, which is a huge part of who I am. Love animals. Anyway, thanks for being here. We are going to be doing some interesting promos for our upcoming shows. So I think that you're going to be seeing a lot of previews on who we're having on. We're going to be recycling the shows that we've had, so you'll be able to catch the interview segments that I've done previously. Thank you for being here. It's always wonderful to have your comments. Remember to drop any questions in the comments. Put an emoji with it. We always do a drawing for some great stuff, and having you here and being a participant is really, really important. I always talk about something that I'm fanning. Oh, yeah. One thing I can fan is Beauty Counter has an amazing eyebrow gel. It's really terrific. My friend Danny Pollock sells it. If anybody's interested in knowing more about it, put your comments there and an emoji, and I will connect you with Danny, but it's fantastic. So it's natural, it's great, it's easy. So anyway, that's it for this week. Next week, we have a special treat. Allison Sherwood is coming on. She better. I'm going to hold her to it. She is the founder and magic maker behind Deep Rooted Woman. She creates amazing, inspired jewelry pieces, but also soul-centered pieces, malas. So we're going to have Allison on. So anyway, watch for our promos. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.